Well, tonight I'd like to tell you the story of the debate in sign language. Now, the Jews have been forced out of many, many places, and there was a small country with an evil king who decided he also wanted to force the Jews out of his kingdom, but he needed to save face. He couldn't just make an edict. So what he said was, I challenge them to a debate in sign language, and if they miss any of the questions, then the Jews must leave. But if, for some chance, they get the questions right, the Jews can stay. Now, in the Jewish community, in the temple, everyone gathered, and they didn't know what to do. And the rabbi said, well, is there anyone here who knows sign language, who thinks they can challenge the king? And nobody knew anything. In fact, everybody kind of took 2 steps back, and there standing in the front was the man who sold chickens, Yankel, the chicken man, and he was occupied with something else and didn't step back, and he was the only one there. And the rabbi looked down and said, Yankel, you will go? And he said, yeah, okay, I'll go. So Yankel went. Now it was the day of the great debate, and there on the platform was the king and Yankel. And once again, the king reiterated that if they get any of the questions wrong, the Jews must leave. If they get them all right, the Jews can stay. And the king looked deep into Yankel's eyes, and he put his hand out like that, and Yankel put his fist up. And the king said, you're right. And there was a hush that came over the crowd. Then the king put 2 fingers up like that, and Yankel put 1 finger up to the sky like that. And the king looked and said, that is also right. And then the king reached in his satchel and pulled out and unwrapped a piece of old, dry, moldy cheese that was crumbling. Yankel reached in his satchel and pulled out a hard-boiled egg. And to the king's astonishment and everyone else, the king said, you are right. The Jews can stay. Now, in the court, everyone approached the king. What happened? What did you say? What did he say? What was it all about? Well, the king said, I couldn't believe that Yankel, that little chicken man, couldn't get everything right. He said, I put out my hand with my 5 fingers stretched to signify that the Jews were spread apart and that their faith was not united or connected. Yankel put his fist to the sky and said, we are united under God. And he was right. Then I put up 2 fingers to signify that there were 2 kings, one in heaven and one here on earth. Yankel put up 1 finger to signify that there was only 1 king in heaven, and he was right. I took out unfolded that piece of cheese. It was old and crumbling to signify that the Jewish faith was old and crumbling and was falling apart. And Yankel took out an egg to signify rebirth and spring, and so the Jews could stay. And now in the temple, everyone was gathering around Yankel and saying, well, so what happened? What did he say? Yankel said, well, I really wasn't sure, but he went out to hit me in the face, and I put my fist up to show him that I meant business. And he put his 2 fingers out. He thought he was going to poke me in the eye, and I put 1 finger up to stop him. He took out his lunch, I took out my lunch, and then he said we could stay. Thank you.